In December of 2011, a surgeon in Texas sent an email to his girlfriend, one that would later become a piece of haunting evidence. In it, he wrote, "I am ready to leave the love and kindness and goodness and patience that I mix with everything else that I am and become a cold-blooded killer." That surgeon was Dr. Christopher Duntsch, a name that would soon become synonymous with fear, pain, and malpractice on a scale few could imagine. Over the next 2 years, he would operate on 38 patients. 33 of them were left permanently injured, 4 were paralyzed, 2 were killed. What began as a career in healing turned into a trail of devastation that would shake the American medical system to its core. But this isn't just the story of a doctor who made mistakes. It's the story of a system that allowed a monster to keep holding a scalpel. Christopher Duntsch wasn't some shadowy figure operating out of a rundown clinic. He was, on paper, a star. His resume gleamed with brilliance. An MD and PhD from the University of Tennessee, multiple patents in spinal technology, and co-founder of a biotech startup called Discgenics, which focused on regenerative spinal therapy. He spoke like a visionary and carried himself like a genius. To hospitals, he looked like the future of neurosurgery, an ambitious, well-educated young doctor who would bring prestige and profit. So, when Baylor Regional Medical Center in Plano, Texas, reviewed his application, they were dazzled. Baylor Plano was one of the most prestigious hospitals in the state, and when they offered him a $600,000 starting salary plus bonuses, they believed they had found their next superstar. But beneath the lab coat and charming smile, Christopher Duntsch was hiding something dark, something the system never bothered to see. During his neurosurgery residency, a standard trainee performs around 1,000 surgeries before being certified. It's how surgeons build the skill, precision, and discipline that saves lives. But when investigators later examined Duntsch's records, they were stunned. He had performed fewer than 100. He wasn't just underqualified, he was dangerously unprepared. And it didn't stop there. Supervisors at his residency program in Tennessee had long suspected something was off. They noticed erratic behavior, sloppy technique, and even suspected substance abuse. Some colleagues later claimed he was operating while under the influence of cocaine. At one point, he was removed from the operating room and sent to an impaired physicians program. Yet somehow, after completing the program, he was allowed back, and no record of his drug use or his incompetence ever made its way to Texas. The system simply reset him. In his own mind, Christopher Duntsch wasn't just a doctor, he was a god. He told colleagues he was the only clean surgeon in Dallas, and that he was there to clean up everyone else's mistakes. The arrogance was off the charts. But in January 2012, his delusion would find its first real victim. His first patient was Jerry Summers, his childhood friend. Jerry trusted him completely. The two had grown up together, partied together, and now Jerry was relying on his friend to perform a cervical fusion to fix chronic neck pain. The night before the surgery, witnesses claimed the two men had been out drinking and possibly using cocaine. The next morning, Jerry drove Christopher to the hospital. Hours later, Jerry would leave that same hospital paralyzed from the neck down. During the operation, Duntsch had drilled into the wrong part of his spine, damaging a critical artery and packing the wound with so much surgical foam that it crushed his spinal cord. When Jerry woke up, he couldn't move. He would spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Any normal hospital would have stopped him right there. But Baylor Plano didn't. There was no formal review, no police report, no immediate suspension. The machine kept moving. Just 2 months later, on March 12, 2012, a 55-year-old elementary school teacher named Kelly Martin walked into Baylor Plano for a routine microdiscectomy, one of the most common spinal procedures in the world. It should have taken 45 minutes. Instead, it turned into a bloodbath. Duntsch sliced through a major artery, causing massive internal bleeding. As the operating room team scrambled to save her, witnesses said Duntsch appeared calm, even detached. He eventually left the operating room altogether and was later found in the ICU waiting room, casually writing notes while his patient was dying on the table. Kelly Martin bled out before anyone could stop it. 2 patients down, 1 dead, 1 paralyzed, yet somehow, Duntsch kept operating. For Baylor Plano, the situation had shifted from medical to legal. They now had a serious liability on their hands. The hospital's administrators knew what Duntsch had done, but firing him outright would create a paper trail and open them up to lawsuits. So, they did what hospitals often do when faced with a rogue surgeon. They passed the trash. In April 2012, Baylor quietly suspended Duntsch's privileges, but allowed him to resign voluntarily. Then, they handed him a letter of recommendation that stated his record was clean, no suspensions, no restrictions. In reality, that letter was a complete fabrication. Baylor had just cleared him after 2 catastrophic operations, including 1 death. But the lie worked. Armed with that glowing letter, Duntsch found a new home within weeks. His next stop was Dallas Medical Center, a smaller hospital desperate to fill its neurosurgery roster. They granted him temporary privileges in July 2012. What followed was one of the most disastrous weeks in modern medical history. His first patient there, Floella Brown, came in for a simple cervical fusion. During surgery, Duntsch sliced her vertebral artery, one of the main arteries that supply blood to the brain. To cover the mistake, he packed the area with gel foam, cutting off blood flow entirely. Floella suffered a massive stroke and died days later. Barely a week after Floella's surgery, a 72-year-old woman named Mary Eford came in for a spinal fusion. What Duntsch did to her defied comprehension. He misplaced screws, amputated a major nerve root, and left bone fragments floating inside her spinal canal. She woke up in unbearable pain, permanently paralyzed. This was finally enough for Dallas Medical Center. They revoked his privileges immediately, but astonishingly, no criminal charges followed. And because of Baylor's earlier clean letter, his record still showed no wrongdoing. By 2013, he resurfaced yet again, this time at University General Hospital in Dallas. And once again, he was operating. Once again, people were getting hurt. That's when 2 doctors, Dr. Robert Henderson and Dr. Randall Kirby, decided enough was enough. Both were respected surgeons in Dallas who were often called in to clean up Duntsch's catastrophic mistakes. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Henderson described it as a crime scene, while Kirby compared it to a chainsaw massacre. In June 2013, Duntsch performed surgery on a man named Jeff Glidewell, and this would be the operation that finally ended his reign. The surgery was supposed to remove a small piece of tissue from Glidewell's neck. Instead, Duntsch mistook a muscle for a tumor, cut a hole through the man's esophagus, punctured an artery, and left a surgical sponge inside before stitching him up. When Dr. Kirby was called to repair the damage, he was horrified. In his report to the Texas Medical Board, he wrote, "It looked like he tried to decapitate Mr. Glidewell." That line would become infamous. Kirby and Henderson began an all-out campaign to stop Duntsch. They wrote letters, called medical authorities, and contacted district attorneys, anyone who would listen. In their warnings, they described him as a sociopath and a clear and present danger to the citizens of Texas. At first, the system dragged its feet. Bureaucracy moved slowly, as it often does. But eventually, after enough pressure, the Texas Medical Board suspended Duntsch's license in June 2013. It was a temporary victory, but still, he wasn't in jail. For 2 more years, Christopher Duntsch lived freely in Dallas. In 2015, prosecutors finally made their move. The Dallas County District Attorney's Office charged him with 5 counts of aggravated assault and 1 count of injury to an elderly person. A strategic charge centered on his treatment of 72-year-old Mary Eford. The challenge wasn't proving he'd hurt people. The evidence was overwhelming, but proving intent. The defense argued he wasn't evil, just incompetent. But prosecutors had his email, the one where he called himself a cold-blooded killer. Instead of pursuing murder charges, which are notoriously hard to prove in medical cases, they focused on the injury to an elderly person. It was brilliant. They didn't need to prove he meant to kill, only that he knowingly caused harm. In February 2017, the jury returned its verdict, guilty. Duntsch was sentenced to life in prison, becoming the first doctor in American history to be convicted of crimes committed during surgery. He'll be eligible for parole in 2045 when he'll be 74 years old. But while the man known as Dr. Death is behind bars, the institutions that enabled him have largely escaped accountability. Baylor Plano settled civil lawsuits, but no one was criminally charged. No administrators lost their licenses. The hospitals that passed the trash continued to operate as if nothing happened. And that's the most haunting part of this story. Not just the evil of one man, but the indifference of a system built to protect its own. Hospitals are supposed to save lives, not ruin them. Peer review, the process meant to hold doctors accountable, is often sealed behind confidentiality laws that make real oversight impossible. As long as that remains true, there's always the chance another Christopher Duntsch could slip through. The victims of Dr. Duntsch's madness, people like Jerry Summers, Mary Eford, and Kelly Martin, have become symbols of courage in the face of systemic betrayal. And the two doctors who fought to stop him, Dr. Kirby and Dr. Henderson, risked their careers to do what the system refused to: protect patients. Their story and the chilling details of how they built the case against him are chronicled in the docuseries Dr. Death: The Undoctored Story on Amazon Prime Video. A must-watch for anyone who wants to understand how arrogance, negligence, and bureaucracy nearly destroyed dozens of lives. In the end, the tale of Dr. Christopher Duntsch forces us to confront a disturbing truth. Monsters don't always wear masks. Sometimes they wear white coats. He sits in prison today, a disgraced surgeon who once called himself a god. But the hospitals, the boards, and the bureaucracy that allowed him to operate for so long remain intact, quietly protecting their reputations instead of their patients. So, as you finish this story, ask yourself, how many more doctor deaths are still out there, hidden behind polished resumes and hospital logos, and when will the system stop them before they pick up the scalpel? Until that day comes, stay safe, stay aware, and never stop asking questions. If this story shocked you, and honestly, how could it not? Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the dark corners of medicine and the systems that let these nightmares happen. Every week, we uncover the real stories behind the headlines, the surgeons, hospitals, and billion-dollar industries that blur the line between healing and harm. So if you want to stay informed and a little disturbed, make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you found this episode valuable, share it. Someone out there still believes every doctor is a hero, and maybe they need to hear this story too. Until next time, this is Sloppy Medicine.